So obviously, if you've seen on Twitter, there is a Google Doc that's been made on me.
Ladies and gentlemen and Slopnier viewers, in my last video covering this Pyrocynical document and situation, we covered the contents of the document and gave you a recap of what was in it. As well, in the last video, we covered a few critiques I had towards Parlo for the document, and as well, Pyrocynical's 4-minute response he had on his stream.
Google Docky. Google Docky.
In this response, Pyrocynical came off as an incredibly nervous and paranoid individual who had been waiting for this document for multiple months. And in this response, Pyrocynical was more concerned with making jokes about the situation, commenting on the fact that Parlo had released this under a burner account and tried to get a gotcha on him in that moment, and as well was being incredibly disingenuous when describing why the length of the document was so long.
And it was posted on a burner. We know who posted it. We know who posted it. Like, you can literally go into the hidden replies of that burner account, and you can immediately see they're hiding replies criticizing a certain YouTuber. So 101 pages is insane. I think that's the worst thing as well. Like, it was almost made like as bloated as possible. So when people see 300 pages, because let's be real, right? Everyone's attention span right now is fried. You got IG Reels, you got TikTok, you got YouTube Shorts. Very few people have the attention span to even watch a film without checking their phone. So most people see 300 pages, and then it's like, okay, he's guilty.
Pyrocynical in this response as well also gave his game plan away in terms of waiting for people to make their videos and cover the situation before responding.
But the point I'm trying to make is, I can't just go ahead and respond to it now. I need to now wait for all the YouTubers and everyone to jump in and have their say and say their piece about it. And then I need to respond to it.
No, there is no reason feasibly why he needs to wait for other people's coverage to get involved in this document and break it down. Unless Pyrocynical is actively going to be responding to the coverage of this document instead of the document itself, finding inconsistencies within the coverage, fuck-ups, to try and slither away and find cracks where he can avoid accountability and downplay it. Which is something he can do if he directly responds to the videos instead of responding directly to the document. Of course, this is all stuff that we covered in the previous video, but I wanted to give a brief recap, as in today's video, Parlo has added over 20 pages to his document, which includes a response to Pyrocynical's stream response. Which, before we do, I want to give a pretty valid critique towards Parlo here. I don't see a point in adding 20 more pages to this document or keep constantly adding things to this document consistently. He needs to work on his video, he needs to work on a condensed version of the document which isn't so repetitive and isn't so long for more generalized audiences. There is no point adding an extra 20 pages to this document at the end of it or randomly wherever else in the document, because nobody's going to be going back to check on that once they've read it. Also just makes the document longer and more of a mess. One of the first things I want to go over in regards to the additions to this document is the stuff that's been added about Ivory. Regarding Ivory, then a tweet attached from Ivory saying, "I don't know if it needs to be said, but I don't know Parlo or anything, and I didn't participate in the document being made." Stated by Ivory, he did not participate in the editing of this document. Do not harass him, he has been through enough. Then attached is a thread from r/YouTube drama revolving Ivory's response to the document. Post reads, Ivory, one of Pyro's quote-unquote victims in Parlo's new doc, exposes about him, claims on Twitter, not linking it or naming it, find it yourself, that he did not consent or participate in any shape or form to be part of his doc. Not only that, some people are concerned that the public Google doc showcasing Ivory's actual Twitter could bring Ivory back into this drama when he clearly doesn't want anything to do with it, and potentially increase harassment from Pyro's fanbase. What do you think? Nothing burger or a shitty move by Parlo? It's an incredibly disingenuous retelling of what Ivory said. Ivory never said that they did not consent to being in this document, just the fact that they didn't work on this document or participate in the making of it. The document responds by saying to immediately discredit this point. No once did Ivory ever publicly state he did not consent for this information to be covered. He simply stated that he did not participate in the creation of the document. The claim that it was made without his consent is false. Notice how this user also attempts to use quotations when referencing Ivory as a victim to dismiss his story, but also to minimize the context around the situation. This is specifically used to undermine Ivory and other victims' credibility. And after clearing that up, the document starts to focus more on the commenters of r/YouTube drama and the user that posted it. The document then states a very close associate and trusted friend of Ivory was seen expressing their disgust in Niall's actions and has been over the course of many months. They were seen recently forwarding the document. Had this document made Ivory uncomfortable or any other victims in that regard or contained any untrue statements, they would have highlighted this and can always contact me. This is one of the additions which I think is a positive one. I think this is a good thing to to clear up, and I think this is a also good thing to put in the document regarding Ivory and clearing up any misinformation that is spreading around about this. But I also think this is something that could have just been a tweet rather than actually inserted into the document. Another thing that was added to the document over these new 20 pages was also a response to Pyrocynical's stream response. Pyrocynical responded. Pyrocynical addressed the document on his live stream, and damn, I made it into the fucking document. Pyrocynical was seen addressing the situation on live stream to his audience, focusing on minimal claims that aren't relevant to the allegations at all, highlighting how the document was tweeted on a burner account and that 2 tweets in replies were hidden, both extremely redundant points to highlight. However, Niall finds it important to disclose regardless to undermine the credibility of the document by sidestepping all the points highlighted inside of it and remaining vague. Pyrocynical highlights how he is pitted in a position where he will have to await other content creators' opinions on the situation before he makes a public response video on his main channel. Because he is hyper-focused on public consensus now to manipulate just deal with shifting public opinion, Pyrocynical was hedging his bets on potential commentary YouTubers covering the situation to botch and misinterpret the allegations and spread misinformation, which gives him wiggle room to invalidate the entire situation based on addressing strawman points. He did this with Keemstar when he got the aging correct, as well as Turkey Tom being speculative in his first document and the Red Kiwis comparison. Now I will attempt to discredit the allegations by lunging at the most weak points to manipulate his viewers into believing all the claims are debunked. Briefly moving away from the new additions in this document and responses, I want to quickly share something that I recently saw that was quote tweeted on Parlos' document. Somebody who was mentioned in the document, but just to clarify on this, I wasn't referencing somebody named Abortion ASMR. The person I was referencing, I think at the time, went by iFunnyMichael, but they don't even use the internet anymore. Parlo then responded by saying, "Hey, I just want to say the document didn't mean to conflate the two people. I believe you're referring to Abortion ASMR, as she was one of the main people who came out about the situation in 2019. I stated how what was highlighted was you referencing another victim. Sorry if that confused you." He then responded by saying, "You're good. Nah, it was my friend I was talking about. Sadly, don't have much proof, but we were talking about the person you highlighted here." The user sends a link revolving around Pyrocynical. They respond by saying, "Haha, this is too funny. I want to get involved." They respond by saying, "Do it. But my gut says no, lol." Or, "Yeah, just stay neutral." Can you reply saying that he commissioned a friend of yours? Okay. They do that, and then someone responds saying, "So you're saying there's zilch in terms of evidence, and people should just believe simply because of what someone else says, until you have sufficient evidence that these claims are bullshit and can't hold up." Leo then puts, "They want proof, help me out." The user then responds by saying, "Here's some proof. I made a 3D intro for Pyro around the time you brought up, and still have the blend file and PayPal receipt." Leo responds by saying, "Wait, just give me like a link or something so I can tweet it at them." They then respond by saying, "My phone's about to die, but when I get home I can. Also, Pyro deleted his Discord, so it's even harder to find the chat." Now, the rest of the additions to this Pyrocynical document are things that I've actively critiqued Parlo for doing in the past. And that's actively engaging with Pyrocynical fans and arguing with them and going backwards and forwards with them. And now it's been included towards the end of the document, which just weakens it further because this just makes Parlo look incredibly petty. There's already some of this type of stuff in the document to begin with when it was publicly released, and I found it unnecessary then and think that's something that could 100% be trimmed down alongside the lots of other repetitive points. It's something that doesn't need to be in the document. Stuff to do with how Pyrocynical fans are responding don't need to be in there. The document should solely focus on Pyrocynical's actions, accusations, and things to do with Pyrocynical. I understand including Ida in this document. That is something that I understand. What I don't understand is going on tirades about Pyrocynical's fanbase, because ultimately that weakens the document, and I do believe that's something that Pyrocynical and others can weaponize to try and discredit Parlo's document. Like, for example, lack of critical reading skills. Members of the r/YouTube drama community have openly made it known that they will not be mature nor level-headed when it comes to digesting the information presented in this document. Instead, they remain solely reliant on members of Pyrocynical's subreddit to condense the contents inside the document and determine whether it is important information or not. This is extremely biased and extremely pathetic attempt at trying to discredit the new and now better formatted evidence provided in this document. It is a completely unnecessary inclusion in this document. There is no point bringing up how people on r/YouTube drama and r/Pyrocynical have responded. Nobody gives a fuck. People want to know about the new accusations that Pyrocynical is facing. They don't care about how other people are reacting to the situation. This is not necessary whatsoever, let alone it being being added to the official document which is posing new allegations against Pyro. Now, ladies and gentlemen, stop your viewers. I'm going to start moving on from the new additions into the document to one of the final things I want to discuss in this video. And that's a popular question that lots of people have been asking about this document, and that's if any of this has been reported to the authorities. Now, when Parlo went on Quinthio's now deleted stream, Quinthio actually asked him this exact question, and this is what Parlo had to say.
And I guess also follow-up question here. So why, if it hasn't, I haven't read this part of the document. Has any of this information, any of the accusations that you're being made, specifically because a lot of it has to do with legality, has any of this been documented, reported to the police? Have the individuals, the victims that you're alleging in these situations, have they gone forward in contacting the authorities?
Abortion ASMR has already voiced out that I believe that they have reported, and Ivory has absolutely reported it to the police. He reported it back in 2020 during the height of the situation. I'm not sure anything came out of it because a lot of times with online situations, police just don't really look into it all too much and they don't take the necessary action. But Ivory has absolutely reported this to the police.
So yeah, that's what Parlo had to say to that question. I know it's a question that I've seen circulating around on the internet a lot under people's coverage in stream chats, and I wanted to put that clip out there. Parlo has also just stated I will be making a condensed version of the document and putting it on an account that will not get mass reported to immediately shut down ad hominem attempts at deflection. I have 3 20 to 50 minute videos coming out debunking many lies spread by a few stalkers. The Pyrocynical video is 1 hour 50 minutes long, and it will be impossible for people to write it off as a nothing burger or feign the loss of interest excuse, because it will be impossible to ignore it unless you are physically wanting to defend a groomer. So I guess in Pyrocynical's words, when it comes to this,
I need to now wait.
And we'll see what happens when Parlo's videos do eventually drop on the whole Pyrocynical matter. But ladies and gentlemen, sloppy viewers, that will do it for today's YouTube video. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss any future coverage of this. And while you're down there, you might as well leave your thoughts as well. I'm incredibly interested to see what you, the viewer, has to say about this situation. But I've been your host, Samuel, and I will catch you in the next Slop Mule video. Goodbye.